Welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today on the radio show, I was talking to several people who called in about their jobs and money and their unhappiness, or as one woman said, I make it work, meaning she makes her job work out for her. And she even said that there's some aspects of it that are really, really interesting. And what I relayed to this caller and many callers over the years is that joy, which is really the vibration of what would be in your highest good in terms of having a career or really doing anything, but we'll keep it related to work right now, is actually the energy you're looking for. Interesting is lovely, but it's not joyful. It's not. Here's an example. Today after the show, my sister and I, we always go out to breakfast to celebrate, doing something really fun that brings me a lot of joy. And I always order gluten-free bread. And sometimes when I look at my plate, I'm like, is that gluten-free bread? Because it doesn't always look like it used to years ago, because they're getting better and better at the recipes and it looks like wheat bread. But for me, if I eat gluten, my stomach's going to hurt. So I'm looking at the bread. It's interesting. I find it interesting. Is that sourdough? Is that gluten-free? Is that wheat bread? What is that? That's interesting. But when I spread the pieces of bread apart, there was just like a delicious layer of melted butter, like a lot of melted butter. I love butter. It makes me very, very joyful. So I actually tasted the bread, not because I was in the interesting mode of, is that gluten-free or not? Is this going to hurt my stomach or not? I was like, oh, that butter is so delicious. So I ate the bread, did not get a stomach ache. I know this sounds very simplistic, but when you look at spirituality is actually simple. Intuition is incredibly simple. It's the mind that makes things very complicated. And that's where that aspect of interesting comes from. You always want to find and follow the simple aspects of joy. And so looking at that delicious cream butter melted deep into the bread, it was so good. That's actually the answer. Like, this is healthy for you, or this isn't going to hurt your stomach. That was actually the answer, not the interesting aspect where I'm trying to determine if the grain has gluten in it. And if I stayed in that interesting energy, I would have gotten up and asked the people behind the counter if indeed this was gluten-free. The same principle needs to be applied to every area of your life. And let's just talk about it in terms of work. Your work needs to be like, if you love butter as much as I do, it needs to be like delicious melted butter on toast. Whatever brings you great joy, that's what your work is supposed to feel like. That's how you know you're in alignment with your passion, your purpose, your higher self. And interesting is not the same thing. It's interesting, but it's not joyful. And a lot of people think that when something's interesting, that's a high frequency, because curiosity moves up the chain of high frequency, but joy is at the very top of the frequency vibrational spectrum. And that's where your true calling is, your God consciousness. Everything about you in terms of your true authenticity and your amazing aspect of yourself vibrates in joy, not interesting. Like, interesting can get you up to that place. Like if I stayed in interesting when I was looking at the toast and there was, like I said, and there was no butter on it, that would not be, I would not be in high enough energy to know that I could eat that bread and, not have to take a bunch of digestive enzymes afterwards. So this is what you need to do about work. It might be interesting, but that's not joyful. And when you're not in joy, when you're doing something 8 hours a day, you can get depleted of energy, which makes it really difficult once you come home or once you enter the weekend. If you work Monday through Friday, you're starting on an empty tank. You're washing dishes or your clothes or sweeping or feeding yourself or other people or grocery shopping or all the tasks that we need to do when we're not at work so that we can live in a physical reality. Now you're doing it on an empty tank. That's not inspiring. You're not having fun. You don't have the energy to go do other things that are joyful. If you're making decisions for work, if you work in the world, and of course, many people can have hobbies too. And if they're interesting, they need to be joyful. Whatever you're doing in the world, if you can do something that really has that joyful, delicious, high vibrational energy, imagine how much pure energy you're going to have that's going to fulfill the rest of your life too. You'll pick wonderful partners. You'll have incredible friends. It will be a phenomenal experience. Your life will be a phenomenal experience. It'll just get better and better and better and better. And remember, Wealth and work are two different vibrations. Don't confuse them. Don't make them a sandwich of butter on gluten-free bread. Don't do that. Wealth and the frequency of it and work and the frequency of it are separate. They're supposed to be on separate frequencies. When you combine them, then we tend to overcompromise. We make decisions out of fear. We worry about our future. All of those things where wealth is just a natural aspect that happens when you have a positive relationship with the frequency of wealth. When you love resources and coins and dollar bills or euros or wherever you live, the type of money that you have, you love it. You feel appreciation. I mean, real appreciation, not stress, not worry, like not, oh my gosh, what if all these terrible things happen? That's not high vibration. And then that's what really depletes resources. When you can vibrate your energy towards wealth in a loving, happy frequency, it doesn't matter what you do for work. You will create wealth. Even if you stop working, you're going to create wealth and comfort. It's not going to make any sense. You won't understand it, but you'll be in a different vibration, and a different vibration than the majority of the population. Most of the population on Earth is in fear regarding wealth and vibrates the energy very, very low. Even some people who make, what we would consider, a very high percentage of income, if they are in low vibration, they have to work harder for that wealth. They have more expenses. They may not have the savings that they would like to have because their vibration is depleting their accounts. Do things that look like butter on toast if you like butter, and fall in love with wealth. Don't think of them together. Work and wealth does not need to be together. They can complement each other beautifully. If you're in joy, and you're joyfully loving wealth, that's a wonderful combination. But loving wealth doesn't have to create a certain type of career for you that you have to do to create resources. It actually allows you to have the career that would bring you great joy, regardless of how the resources come into your life. They will come in. They will come in plenty. They will come in when you're on vacation. They will come in when you decide to retire or take sabbaticals. You will always have more than enough wealth because your love for the vibration of wealth will feed you exponentially. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.